Good morning. How you doing? I am the Barmy Farmer Erik. I'm here from the Garden of Apologies. Welcome to episode 5 of Pepper School. In today's exciting and enthralling episode, I have some cats. Here's Marmalade. I also have, starting off with a sweet pepper. This is a Toreador sweet pepper. I have a second sweet pepper. This is a Lesya pepper. Third up, it's a classic. This is a Sugar Rush Red. We've seen the Sugar Rush Peach already. Today's the red. And then we have three very similar peppers that I'm just going to shuffle all in together. There's the Orange Habanero. Oh, some fluff on the side. Get that out there. So, an Orange Habanero, classic pepper. It's a Bahamian Goat. This one's a little small, but you get the pumpkin shape. And often the first pepper of the year tends to be a little bit of a dinky guy. And then a Scotch Bonnet that I acquired this weekend. My plants aren't ready yet, but this is a very nice looking pod with a really cool pheno shape. So I figured this one was worth the review today. So, without further ado, let's get right on into it here. Excalibur. All right, it's pepper time. Let me pick up the Toreador there. So it's named after a bullfighter. I don't know if that's because it's a bullhorn shape here, but it certainly does bounce nicely on the gravel when I accidentally throw it on the ground. So Toreador pepper, I wasn't able to find the background information on where this came from. So I did a bit of research on it, but it is an annuum pepper, and it is a sweet pepper. I got my seeds in a little packet down at the St. Jacob's Garden Center, a little nursery down there. So it's a somewhat common pepper that you may not struggle to find. Yep. Let's get her cut open here. Nice, thick looking pepper. Oh. There's good crunch on it there. Looks definitely like it's going to be a good grilling, good stuffing pepper. And here, one thing I did today is I put the camera on a bit of a swivel. So if you want to see the actual peppers as I'm working on them, I have the actual peppers. How exciting. But anyway, here's the Toreador pepper. I gave it kind of a weird slice, so I'm just going to cut that piece off right there. So of course, this being a sweet pepper, this is in the Annuum genus. And it's got a similar veining you see down the center on these long pointy peppers, but it's quite a bit thicker on the pith on the way down, as you see than we saw on things like the cayenne peppers. So, oh yeah, that is a nice red bell pepper. Sort of in the realm of a shepherd's pepper. Got a similar shape as well. It may even be a variation on the shepherd's pepper. But very sweet, very fruity. And being a sweet pepper, there's not even a speck of heat in it. This is a terrific pepper that you can use for hot sauce composition, where it's not going to be the active pepper that gives you the fire. But this is definitely a better option for adding the texture and the sauce continuity than it is throwing in something like Dancing Gal. Good times. Well, we have a second sweet pepper today, and I do feel slightly sheepish going through a bunch of sweet peppers while I'm wearing my pepper-eating Pepper Champ t-shirt. But hey, I am who I am, and this was the next shirt in line in the closet, and who am I to fuss with what shirt's next in the closet? Maybe I'll throw the Mike Jack shirt back on again in a couple weeks when I've got my Reapers and my Scorpions ready, and you can watch me try to channel some of Mike Jack's Herculean pepper tolerance as I slug slug through some of those peppers. And if you don't know Mike Jack, please check out Mike Jack. He like written on his head right there. But our next pepper, this is the Lesya. So I've thrown my slice into it here. This is a Ukrainian pepper, and from what I understand, this is the sweetest of the bell peppers. So I'm pretty excited about this. It's, again, in the Annuum. Like any of the not hot sweet peppers will fall into the Annuum genus. I picked up my seed through Baker Creek, which is a particularly good spot. And so in first cut, there's a nice little pith ball up at the top with all the seeds just under the stem. But what I'm seeing here is a nice thick wall on it and a big open cavity. So this could be a terrific stuffing pepper. Much the same way we have here with the Toreador, but just the cavity on that, just figure that packed in with some like wild rice, maybe a bit of textured vegetable protein, yeah, some spices, some hot peppers. That's going to be a good meal right there. Let's see what we got here for the Lesya. Smells just like a red bell pepper. Oh, that is nice. So, it being a red bell pepper, or a red bell pepper with a different shape, they all have a very similar flavor. Where you've all had a red bell pepper, you know that crisp sweetness you get. Both the Toreador and the Lesya have had that same underlying flavor with that crisp sweetness. The Lesya holds up to its reputation. It was very, very sweet. Now it's a very pleasant pepper. I've quite enjoyed that. That's going to be very useful. I may end up growing that now as a staple pepper. But the easy ride is over now. Let's get into the challenging stage for Barmy Farmer Erik right now. So, in one of our previous episodes, we looked at the Sugar Rush peach. That's the best known cultivar of the Sugar Rush family. This is a Baccatum that was developed by Chris Fowler in Wales. So the Sugar Rush peach may just be the perfect pepper, but the Sugar Rush red is a naturally occurring variation. Sometimes peppers just ripen into different colors, because that's just what they do. And there's our slice on it. It doesn't look too much different than we saw from the Sugar Rush peach. The same long vein down the center, nice thick pod there with a good texture to it. It's a good firmness. You can't go wrong with any of the Sugar Rush peppers. Baccatums themselves tend to be just terrific peppers, but the Sugar Rush in particular. So now we're looking here at the plate. I've got my slice on it. Oh, that's good. But definitely hotter than the previous peppers. Oh, it's gonna bring out the sneeze. Excuse me. We're just after Labor Day as I'm filming this. We're in a bit of a heat wave here in Lebanon in southern Ontario, and so it's got my sinuses going. But the capsaicin on the Sugar Rush just released it a little bit and brought out my sneeze. And I've got Igor here. He's my sneezy cat. Isn't that right, bud? Oddly enough, Igor's been on my lap for most of these episodes so far. But back to the focus. The Sugar Rush Red, the terrific pepper. It might even be sweeter than the Lesya. Yeah, they're very close, but definitely it has earned the name Sugar Rush just with that burst of sugar. Like it came out quickly. There should be a word for that. Rush? That works. So the sugar came out in a rush with that lovely flavor. Slight hint of tropic with it, but for the most part, it's just a bell pepper flavor, and that is really nice. Sugar Rush, they're terrific hot sauce composition peppers because they have that sweetness and mostly a neutral flavor. They run in the 50 to 100,000 Scoville heat unit range. So it's a respectable pepper with a respectable heat at that KN level. But it's nothing is going to kill you, but it does flesh out a sauce very, very well. I think the only sauce I've actually used sugar rush peppers in was the one-off batch I did with the pawpaws. That was Paw Paw Pow from Soy Sauce. Now, if you missed it, sorry, sucks to be you. I'll make something different later. Okay, let's get into the classics. Everyone has seen an orange habanero. Everyone has had an orange habanero. This is the standard hot pepper that we've seen for years, where if you're looking for something spicy, you get either the jalapeno as the slightly spicy option at the restaurant or outlet. But if you want to go extra hot, you get the scary habanero. Classic pepper. It comes from the Caribbean. There's no specific superhero origin story on it because it's been around so long and it's such a universal pepper. There are several peppers that are very, very closely related to them, two of which we have today with the Bahamian goat and the Scotch bonnet. But we also have there's a Caribbean red and there's the Jamaican red as two very closely related peppers as well. They're all, I don't want to say the same thing, but they're all close enough to the same thing that there is a minor interpretation on them that will differentiate them into different classes. Habanero, to my knowledge, is the oldest and the classic. We're dipping into the Chinense family now, and these tend to have a very fruity, very tropical flavor. Habaneros tend to be distinctive and hit that 100,000 to 350,000 Scoville heat unit range, at least for the orange. Some other colors, particularly the Yucatan white and the red Savina, do run a little bit hotter. So first, on the slice, there it is. Small pepper. The first couple pods off a plant are often very small and often underwhelming when it comes to seeds on the interior. And this definitely fits that category. So there's my chunk. Habaneros have a very distinctive smell. So it's a bit tropical. It's you get a bit of the bell pepper, a slight bit of perfume. If you've hung out with any pepperheads or growers and someone gives you a description that something smells like a fresh pod, that's very much what a habanero gives you, the smell of a fresh pod. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. If not, the next time you're at one of the grocery stores and they've got one of those, ideally not a plastic wrapped little tray full of peppers, but if you can grab yourself a habanero and slice one of these open, give her a sniff, and there you go. There we are. So right up front, oh, that sweetness and the tropical, sweet tropical flavor, and then the immediate habanero hit. The hint of floral. Habanero peppers tend to have the capsaicin alkaloid in habaneros. The way it affects the body chemistry is with this immediate boom flash of all the heat you've got, that then tends to dissipate pretty quickly. So I think habanero is a very deceptive pepper, where if people are trying a habanero hot sauce or a habanero product, part of the way it evokes that hot is by giving you that initial boom flash of mouth heat. So people think that they've had more heat than they've actually had. It feels hotter than it actually is. It blows you up for a few seconds, but then you tend to be okay. Right. Bit of a palate cleanse. Down for our next pepper, the Bahamian goat. Excuse me. Tends to look like a little pumpkin. And I think it's my favorite pepper. So it's another Chinense. Sorry, I'm feeling that habanero. This one's lingering with me a little bit longer than most habaneros tend to. So thumbs up to the grower on this one. But I think the Bahamian goat is my favorite pepper. Gotta, boy, without further ado, let's just get into it. So let's give it a slice. There we go. So it's a first pod, so it's a little bit underformed. If I can get that into focus. So you see it's fairly thin-walled. See that particularly on this side here. It's a very, very thin pepper. A bit of that pod smell, but it doesn't have quite as much perfume as the habanero does. So, Bahamian goat. Mm. Oh, there it is. And here's the heat. Yep. So I got the sweetness right up front, and the thing I like about the Bahamian goat is that it has the habanero heat and fits right into that habanero space very nicely, but it has a better flavor. You lose sort of that smoky tropical. It does release the sinuses. Allergy season and hot peppers. That's your combo right there. But there's a hint of peach, there's a hint of mandarin, and there's a good sweetness. So from my perspective, as a medium pepper in that habanero range, you can't do any better than a Bahamian goat. It's very similar to the Scotch Bonnet, but I think it's got a much nicer flavor. And that's a core pepper that I grow every season with a Garden of Apologies. It's a staple pepper. This year, I believe I've got 36 plants. You must have a Bahamian goat every year. My absolute favorite pepper. Chef's kiss. Now, a little bit of a palate cleanse here. You want a sip, Mike? Thanks. And now for a Scotch Bonnet. This is a bit of a twist. This is the first pot I've got that I didn't grow myself. And I'm torn about it doing a review of a pot I haven't grown myself. But it's a Scotch Bonnet. This is a classic, predictable pepper. It's a very common pepper. Originally from the Caribbean. It's not a specific section of the Caribbean it's from, but it is very, very, very popular in Jamaica. And it gives the kind of the iconic taste behind the jerk sauce, where you've got the sweetness and the fruitiness, almost like an improved habanero. I got this one this last weekend at Pepperfest down in Elmer, where I was at the Old Imperial Farmers Market for a couple of days. Excuse me, adjusting the peppers here. Whew. There was a little vendor there named Peter's Produce who was growing small peppers, relatively mild. This was about their peak for a pepper eating contest. And I acquired the leftover peppers because nobody else wanted them. And I always want the leftover peppers. So my own Scotch bonnets are still a bit out here. The seeds did come from the Jamaican Ministry of Agriculture. So assuming I get a productive plant and the pods do appear before frost this year, I'll run through that for you as well. But for this, I want to hit you this Scotch Bonnet just because this pheno shape is really cool. And it looks quite a bit like the tam o'shanter, like that little Scotch bonnet, that hat that Scots wear. So let's get into this Chinense. Again, habanero range 100 to 350,000 Scoville heat units. Nice trapezoidal shape inside. Bit of firmness, bit of crunch to the pod. Whole lot of seeds. And that's kind of what I was hoping for. So you've got such a defined pheno like this. I wouldn't mind keeping the seeds and growing my own version. So, excitement. Look at how happy Mike is as I'm slicing into the pepper. All right. Scotch Bonnet. It's a bit of a grassiness to the smell. Mm. And there's the sweetness. It definitely has an improved sweetness over the Habanero, but it's a different flavor. You lose kind of that smoky tropical flavor, and it's fresher tasting. So less tropical, more crisp. Maybe I think there's some notes of apple there. Definitely a lovely pepper. Awesome. Well, there you have it. That's 6 more peppers from the Garden of Apologies. Well, technically 5 from the Garden of Apologies and a bonus pepper from Peter's Produce as a preview for what we're getting from the Garden of Apologies within the next couple of weeks. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you're finding this somewhat informative. Maybe you're learning about the peppers. I'm planning to learn about the peppers as well, because although I've been doing this for 9 years, every year is a new experience and every year is a learning experience. So every year I'm learning new things and becoming better at growing these crazy little peppers. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, haze, do what you want to. Also, come see me at gardenofapologies.ca. And if you haven't picked up the tip already, check out Mike Jack. He does good stuff. All right. Thanks for watching.